another segment of VirtuPort. Today is the first day of the conference, and I have with me Mr. Ezzeldin.
أهلا فيك شرف.
And thank you for joining us yet for another year. Today's conference is all about hyper-resilient cybersecurity and what that means in its different forms. And since very early this morning, each keynote speaker and specialist has given us a different aspect of this concept. Talking about that, how would you define resilience in the space of cybersecurity, taking into consideration that yes, maybe at this point, protecting 100% is not the solution, but maybe being able to bounce back quickly?
Thank you, Sharazat, first, and thank you always for hosting us in the event. It's always a pleasure to be here and looking forward for next year as well. So yes, I like the theme this year about the hyper resilience because it's trending now. Every single organization, after we almost move to completely digital transformation, now start paying attention to the aspect of resilience. We saw how 1 minute of downtime could really cause a huge impact to organizations in terms of service delivery and their revenue generation, whatever business they are doing it. And we used to assume it's all regarding cybersecurity attacks or ransomware, and this is what I try to explain in my slot. For a decade, we always look when it comes to resilience, how can I protect my environment from an attack? But sometimes the resilience went beyond just an attack. And I give an example, 15 years ago with one of our customers where they really tried to avoid having single component in their data center from one vendor. And the reason for this, because one day they did a firmware upgrade for one single vendor, they rely on their network and it has an issue and it gives them like a week of downtime. And to be able to mitigate this, they started relying on 2 vendors. So it wasn't cyber attacks, it wasn't virus, it wasn't malware, it was just a bug in a firmware for a network card they are doing it. So when we look to resilience, we need really to go beyond just cyber. Yes, attacks, it's one of the aspects, but it could be something else. So the guidance we give during the session is you need to really aware of any blind spot in your environment. It could be a vulnerability passes where attack can get in, but it could be like a single point of failure for a component or a service. You need to have a mitigation or a plan to avoid relying on it. You need to think beyond the traditional way of its endpoint laptops. I need to secure. It could be identity, it could be cloud, it could be data. So there are now multiple entry mobiles. So this became a new area of attack. You need to take it into consideration. You need to think of the use of generative AI now. Now it helps us on the personal level to like ChatGPT. Everyone is happy of using it because it facilitates a lot of time-consuming activity. We use it. Cybersecurity team can use it for having a better resiliency by saving time of getting an answer. They used to take days or weeks to have it. Yes, this is what we are trying to discuss and explain to the audience during the session.
This is in terms of the idea, but what if we talk about the steps to implement? How would an organization today be better resilient in terms of their action plan now?
My always advice is to start by building your framework. And also we mentioned this in the session. Usually people take the easy route by pick one of this well-known famous framework and try to implement it. But is it really the right one for you? Does it fit your organization, your need? It's not one size fits all. So yes, starting by framework and try to adapt and follow this is good, but make sure you choose the right one and then make sure you tailor this one to your need. Cybersecurity has a lot of famous, well-known framework. If you take it and just apply it systematically, you shouldn't get a good result. But if you pick one of these and customize it according to your need, definitely you will get the expected result you should have as an organization.
You spoke about artificial intelligence and how that makes productivity higher, but also one of the downsides is the risk that it increases and also misinformation. How can we enable safe use of AI in an organization?
Yeah. So One of the yes, AI definitely it's important to use. We still need to work as a vendor, the government on AI ethics to be implemented, because definitely it's still not controlled. There is no much regulation around the use of it. Enhancement like AI hallucination, what you just mentioned, it's still happening. So vendors who are developing an AI model now is working hardly to make sure such a thing will not happen. So that's why part of our awareness to our customer, you have to review this. You cannot rely on a data coming from AI and take it blindly and acting like this is the right one. So giving the right data is very important, and this is what we are doing as a company when we developed our own AI model. So we filter the data, we make sure this is the right data, the system is needed. We make sure during the analysis we do the elimination for any outlier to prevent any kind of hallucination. We compare this to a knowledge base, so we make sure we give the right answer to our SOC team when they use the tool, not go and give a wild answer, has nothing to do with what they're asking for.
A lot of experts and speakers today mentioned one thing repetitively, that in today's time we're at a point where our knowledge towards cybersecurity, AI, and creating a safe platform is still evolving, where there's trial and error. It's like a race where we're keeping up with the changes, whether the changes come from the risk factor or the changes come from the security factor. So having said that, what changes or development would you want to see, whether in your company or in the field in general, in the near future?
Yeah. So this is a very valid point. So historically, we used to act reactively. Our customer used to act reactively. When you have an incident, we will try to react and see what to do. Part of the future, part of the recommendation we give to the audience in the session, you need to anticipate. So you don't wait till the incident happen and then you start taking an action. You should anticipate what could happen and take a proactive measure to prevent this from happening. So my conclusion was for people, don't forget about the legacy way of handling in a reactive our cybersecurity measure, and now look to how can you take it more proactively, more anticipating what could happen, and then start taking all preventive measure from now on to avoid having this in the future.
Thank you very much for your valuable time. Every time you sit here with me on VirtuPort's platform, you give me more and more insight towards so much regarding cybersecurity.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with us this time, and I really hope to see you next year.
Hopefully, inshallah. Thank you so much.